guys, welcome, Flawless Fast Pitch community. Today we are honored, excited to welcome Alex Booker to our program. And basically what we have here is we have someone who has played 4 years at University of Illinois, which is of course Division I. She grew up loving the Chicago Bandits and ended up, basically living her dream of playing for the Chicago Bandits, but also then essentially winning like a world championship with the Chicago Bandits, which is absolutely amazing. For 3 years, she was nominated for Female Student Athlete of the Year. She was all-conference. She was academic All-American. As a freshman, she was voted best newcomer. So this is someone we can learn tons and tons from, but also someone who has had her own struggles in the athletic realm, which, we like to kind of dig in and find out how do we get through that and have amazing success. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you so much for taking some time with us. I think we're going to dive right into things from like a recruiting standpoint.
Sure.
What you had mentioned that I found to be super interesting, because I automatically assumed this as well, is that you said going to a top level Division I school and then going to play professional, everyone automatically assumed that you had a full ride. But that was not the case, as you say. So tell us a little bit about your recruiting process and if there's anything you would change, and then how you feel your final year that you earned your scholarship being in.
Sure. So to start, I guess, with my recruiting process, I played for a local travel softball team in my area. We weren't necessarily well recognized, but we kind of made a name for ourselves. Lake County Liberty, we were just an all-out, all-athlete kind of team. We just molded together and had such a solid team. But we went to local tournaments, so I really wasn't really too involved with softball, and I didn't know a lot about recruiting. I was very naive to the whole recruiting realm, and my parents weren't necessarily too involved. It was kind of, hey, Alex, if you want it, you got to make your own path and go get it. So I asked my coach to help me, and I wanted to go to Mizzou, actually, and then Illinois kind of came into the picture, and I was talking to Wisconsin, talking to Purdue, and talking to all these schools, kind of mishmashed, and I really didn't know what direction I was wanting to head in. I knew I wanted to play at a big school. I knew I wanted a full ride. Growing up with a single-parent household that really doesn't allow for much monetary leniency, so I just tried to play as hard as I could, and that ended up gaining the attention of the University of Illinois at one point. I have a couple failure moments, but definitely can share those a little bit later. I wanted to go into the University of Illinois and choosing them because they actually stuck with me through a major injury. So I tore my ACL and meniscus in my junior year of high school, and it was during a volleyball warm-up. Played 3 sports in high school. I actually loved basketball the most. I was probably more athletically inclined to play volleyball, and then softball I was just good at because I played other sports. But I wound up tearing my ACL and going through this major surgery, and Illinois was one of the schools to stick with me. So I actually chose Illinois because they stuck with me and because they had an architecture school that was top in the country at the time. So I started school as an architecture major and wanting to become an architect. And soon I found that maybe wasn't my expertise. It was very artsy and very, liberal. And it was a lot different from what I thought it would be, in a sense of I loved math and science, but the first intro courses were more art and thinking and creativity, and I wanted to get right into the science behind it. But nonetheless, I wound up switching majors. But going back to my main point, I actually chose Illinois for the academics, and then also because they believed in me and they knew that I could come back from an injury. So everybody assumes that I got a full ride. I actually got books. I got offered books. Now, a lot of you guys are like, oh wow, she's upset about getting books. Like, I'd be happy to get any scholarship. In this case, I thought that I could have earned and deserved more than just a book scholarship for, like I said, architecture studies, which I'm sure you can imagine. Architecture is you get a blank journal and you get some nice pencils, and that's your books right there. So your scholarship and respectivity to I think it was about $38,000 a year to attend Illinois with room and board and everything. Books really wasn't too much. It was more just a reason to sign my name on a contract saying that I would attend school there. So I like to think of it as I was a recruited walk-on. But I wound up leading team in statistics for a couple years for my sophomore and junior season, and I didn't receive any more than books. I maybe received a slim percentage more each year, but still wasn't anything substantial. So finally, I led in statistics my junior season, and that paid off. In my senior year, as I mentioned before, my mom and we opened a letter and we're jumping around the kitchen counter, and we're crying and hugging because I wound up getting a full ride and being offered a full ride to attend the University of Illinois. So that's a small bit of my story, but yeah, it's not necessarily always a full ride or nothing thing. It's more of a lot of student athletes don't get money, and the majority of us won't get a full ride. The full ride is kind of like I like to call it like winning the lottery. I mean, a million people play, but there's only one winner, and they win the big shebang. So and I think of education as winning the lottery. So.
But do you think now that if you hadn't been injured at such a clutch time, or that if you played for a different travel team, I mean, being the level of athlete that you are, I mean, you think if the circumstances were different, that you would have had sort of more monetary incentive to play? Because you mentioned that you felt like you were kind of naive about recruiting, and like now you know a lot more.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think if I would have had more education on it, if I would have pushed, I like to relate it sometimes to parents. If you're, parents and adults, if you're at your job and you don't ask for a raise ever, or you don't have that salary conversation with your boss, you'll never get more. So I say, if you want more, ask for it. You don't get many things that you don't ask for in life. And I never knew that was appropriate. So I never knew I could tell my coach, hey, my mom cannot afford for me to go to school. I'm going to be in debt until I'm, 40 years old if I don't get XYZ scholarship. Now, I am out of debt. I officially paid off my student loans last year as of December.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Which I had no idea how that happened, but a lot of help from parents and just putting my head down and grinding it out. But there's a ton of information out there, but transparent and authentic information is really what you're looking for in regard to figuring out the recruiting process. The more knowledge you have, the better, but you got to apply it. You actually have to, apply that knowledge towards a goal. And for me, I think if I were to have had different resources, I may have been able to accomplish my goals in a monetary sense a bit further. Maybe it wouldn't have been with Illinois, but maybe it would have been with a different school. I did get offered full rides at different schools, but they weren't necessarily what I wanted academically. I wanted to go to the Big Ten. I wanted to play in the Big Ten. I wanted to play close to home. Those were all factors. But I tried to weigh the factors as best I could, and money wasn't going to stop me from getting the education that I wanted, because my education will last a lifetime.
So that's a good point. But I also think you're being modest because, Alex is kind of acting like, I don't know how these student loans got paid off, but she busted her butt and was working, the whole time paying them off. So it's not really a mystery as to how they got paid off.
Yeah. I don't know how they got paid off so quickly. We'll just say that. But I mean, it was literally a sense of saving half of my income, saving, half or 3/4 of my income to be able to pay off these loans, and asking mom for help, asking dad for help. And they were obviously saving large portions of their income as well. So that was definitely a big part of starting my adult life. I feel like was paying off my student loans. And people are like, oh yeah, well, you'll get forgiven at some point. But
no.
Yeah, for me,
Student
I wanted to be free. I wanted to release.
It's crazy because people assume that, but that's not true at all. Like, even people who declare bankruptcy are still not free from student loans. So, like, I mean, I think that's why, I mean, that was a lot of the reason why I wrote Empowered Recruiting, because number one, I felt exactly how you feel, that a lot of people are very naive about the recruiting process. They don't know when to start. They don't know how to start. They don't even know what they're looking for. And two, because, I mean, I fortunately had no student loans graduating, which is like, academic and softball and, kind of like a combination of factors. So again, guys, not the full like athletic ride that you think of, like in Division I. It's like there's so many other factors. But yeah, my husband still has like, crazy student loans from like in the 90s, you know what I mean? Like, so it's something that people aren't always thinking clearly about, because people are like, oh, go to a $50,000 school. And you $50,000 a year times 4 people, $200,000, you could buy a freaking house for that. So just it's something that you need to be really realistic about, I think. Because so many people get themselves into trouble that literally lasts for their entire life, that there is no way out. So we want to be realistic about that. That's something we want to talk about in a down-to-earth kind of way.
Absolutely. And actually, I'll put a nod to that. A lot of times when we are playing sport and we recognize our goals, start moving in that direction rather than recognizing that I don't want to play college softball. So why am I putting the effort, the time, the money, the buying new gear, buying new apparel, buying new this, that, lessons, all this stuff, when, maybe I want to go in a direction of playing club softball, playing at a junior college, playing NAIA softball, playing Division III, where maybe they're not as heavily involved, and you don't necessarily need to play at this level, but you can play at this level and save a little bit of money here so that it can go towards school and towards an avenue of being able to minimize the student loans. So there's a lot of ways to pull, a lot of places to pull from. Same thing with scholarship. There's many more scholarships than just the Division I full ride. That's like finding a needle in a haystack, when it's like there are other pieces of hay in the haystack as well. Just you gotta find what where you can capitalize. So I like to mention that as well.
So now you've seen recruiting from really 2 different standpoints, because you've also been a coach at Texas A&M at Commerce, which is a Division II, in the Lone Star Conference. That's correct.
Lone Star Conference. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and then you also coached then at Arkansas, right? Arkansas Tech.
Arkansas Tech. Yep.
So I mean, also another Division II guy. So tell us a little bit about how your perspective on recruiting changed, going from, playing a Division I level to coaching at a Division II level.
Sure. Well, from player to coach, we'll just hit that one first. Player to coach, my vision changed astronomically. So as a player, I just wanted to grind it out. I wanted to put my head down, be as good as I could, and be competitive and just like try to win. All I was concerned about was winning. Now let's digress and move forward a little bit here. As a coach, my job is to coach. My job, I got hired because I'm a good coach. So what I was looking for were athletes. I was looking for good character kids. I was looking for kids who are working hard, and I know they're not going to be an issue. I was looking for kids who have a quality family that's going to support them, but not be in their face, or not not be a burden or a
Crazy.
nuisance.
I mean,
Yeah,
you could say crazy. We're all good with
I don't
that.
want wild parents because chances are, if you're wild now, you're probably going to be calling pitch signs from behind
Oh,
the
I know.
dugout when behind the backstop when I have you as a student athlete in college. So, I was looking more for things that are intangibles. There are plenty of kids who I've watched them from a distance, and I'm like, wow, that kid is good. That kid is. Wow, I want her. I'm like, oh, and she's uncommitted. I'm like, what? Wonder why? So I walk up closer, and then I see that game is over, and little Sally just throws her bag on Dad's cooler. Dad's carrying a baby. He's carrying an umbrella. He's carrying a cooler. He's carrying like the world in his hands. And then she gets right on her phone and starts Snapchatting people. And Dad's trying to have a conversation. Hey, sweetie, how was your game? Like, how did you feel? I'm just trying to make small talk because you're my kid. And I drove you here and paid for your team and paid for all this stuff. And I'm doing all this stuff for you to be happy. But you're treating me like I'm not even there. That will get a kid crossed off my list before quicker than she's even on my list. The intangibles, the character. There were too many instances of that, or parents just acting, wild and outrageous. Usually when they're outrageous like that, I can easily pair them to what kid they, what kid's on the team. When you're wearing number 23 on your back, I can see that that's your daughter. So, I mean, it was more about the intangibles that for me as a college coach. Yes, of course your skill has to match. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it is about skill. I can't take a kid on the team who's, literally just cannot play softball, but I would look at it more at a perspective of, okay, great, you cover the athleticism. We unlayered that. All right, great. Now let's go to the next layer. Let's look at your character. Let's look at your grades. Let's look at your family. Let's look at your athletic build and just how you're going to grow up and where you're at. But that was by far my biggest moment, was seeing the character of kids and seeing, are they a good communicator? Are they a good teammate? Are they coachable? Hey, coach, or, hey, student athlete, do X, Y, Z for me. And they can't lay down a bunt because the coach asked them to. Maybe I asked them as a college coach, hey, can you tell your kid to lay down a bunt? I want to see how well she can listen. Yeah. And I can do that in a recruiting camp or a recruiting clinic. So, it's things like that, the coachable moments. I don't want a problem child on my team. No. That's just extra work for me. If I have to hold your hand through 4 years, that's a relationship. And for me, it's like, there are hundreds of thousands of kids playing the same sport that have probably the same exact demographics as you, same build, same everything, but maybe their attitude's going to be a little bit different. So that's my goal as a college coach, to find the kid with a good attitude and that fits my program and my goals and my values. So, but Division II to Division I, there wasn't much difference in talent. I will say that. There wasn't much difference in talent. Maybe I would say the pitching in Division II was, I think the pitching in Division I was a little bit higher level, but the hitting at Division II was like, a lot of these girls should have been playing D1. And a lot of the times they know that too, but Division II might have fit their needs academically, their needs by means of closeness to home, in respectivity to where they're at home. Monetarily, a lot of times Division II is cut the price in half from a D1, and that's what you got right there. There's a lot more scholarships available, or we could pool money from different avenues as a Division II. We had a lot more flexibility, but talent-wise, there was nearly zero difference. Schedule-wise, there was nearly zero difference. Schedule-wise, we had the same schedule. Actually, Division II starts a week earlier. So, it was just pretty much the size of the school that was the change, which is a shame, because a lot of times people are like, oh, Division II, oh. And I'm like, Division II can compete. Like, I would put them up against a lot of Division I schools, and they'd kick their butts. So, I mean, it's just understanding what you want and understanding what your goals are as a student athlete, because a lot of times people don't understand that there are different levels. Or going into a junior college before you get into a Division I college. Get your gen eds out of the way for a low price. And then now Division I coach knows that you've already played college softball before and you're going to fit the need, rather than coming in as a freshman. It's like you're a wild card. Who knows how you're going to turn out? You're away from home. Like, you're out by yourself pretty much for the first time. Who knows if you're going to get into trouble? Who knows if you're going to not be able to handle it academically? Who knows if you're just going to transfer out right away because you don't like it? Nobody knows. But junior college is a good option too.
Yeah, that is something I feel like, especially if you don't know what you want to study academically, that's just such a nice stepping stone. I think on the other end, I just want to touch on a couple things. So Division I, a lot of people feel like is like a huge step up in talent from Division II, or Division II is somehow easier, and I feel like increasingly more so that's not the case at all. So just the point of like, that's very important for people who are like, oh, I want to do Division II because it's easier. It's really, in many respects, it's not that way anymore. Maybe like 15, 20 years ago. But the other thing is, she mentioned about like, scholarships at a Division II level. Technically speaking, athletic scholarships at a Division II level are less so because they're allowed 12 full rides on a Division I team, and Division II, it's slightly less. I forget if
I think it's 10.
Yeah, so it's 10. And but in terms of like that academic perspective or other, we're talking about pulling from different avenues. So just to clarify that a little bit. But what I also found to be a couple really interesting points in your background where you said that your sophomore year, you felt like you had a really tough time. And then obviously you came back your junior year and you led the team in stats, which is just amazing, especially at that level. So tell us a little bit about what happened your sophomore year, and then how you came back to just like lead the team and, become amazing.
I was actually one of those kids who you don't know how they're going to turn out when they get to college for the first time. So actually it stemmed from my freshman year and then went into my sophomore year. My freshman year, I was alone for the first time. Like, I could do whatever I wanted. Like, the world is my oyster. Like, I'm just here, and oh great, I can play a sport too, and I'm in school, whatever. I wanted to be social about 80% of my college. 80% of what I did on a daily basis was social engagement, social interaction. I was like, school, like, it will get, like, when I was in high school, like, my work just got done somehow. Like, I just, I did it during study hall, whatever. It just got done. I just got the job done. That was not the case in college. You had to read the syllabus. Like, what the heck is a syllabus? What is a syllabus? I have no idea what the heck that is. And I got in trouble for that. There were many times where my grades were slipping, and I would forget about assignments or not know that there were assignments because, my friends said, hey, it's Thursday night, whatever theme night at the bar. You want to come out with us? Absolutely, of course. I don't want to, not come out and you guys, not feel like I'm social or cool. So I went out every opportunity I could, and my grades took a hit for that. There were points where I was struggling so vividly that my coach actually had me do study hall office hours in her office. So I would have to walk in the snow and trench through the snow and go to her office because we all had study table hours, 12 hours a week. A lot, 12 hours a week as a freshman, and I would do those, yes, but it would be more of a social scene, hang out with the basketball players, do some things with some of the football players, whatever. We're all hanging out. Volleyball players were cool too, whatever. Bunch of different sports. We're all just in one athlete center, but my coach soon recognized that I was using that as a social hour as opposed to actually using it for what it's supposed to be for. in that studying. So my grades struggled. I wasn't doing the right things socially. I wasn't putting that much time into extra work on the field. And my statistics, yes, were good. I wound up being able to play a good amount my freshman year. My sophomore year, I led the team in a lot of statistical categories, but I wasn't. I mean, I was here. I was stagnant. I was just for me, I was mediocre. My junior year, I took off. I said, okay, enough, Alex. Like, you're not making all conference. You should be. Like, there's no reason why you're just going to run with the pack. Let's go. So my junior year, I started saying, Coach, where are the keys to the shed? Like, I'm going to come in and hit every single Thursday night, every Tuesday night. I'm going to come in and hit off the machine that I absolutely hate. One of those, the three-wheel machines. It's like a hack attack, but I think it's a home plate machine. I don't know. I don't want to give too many shout-outs to brands, but
not like you're being sponsored by them.
Yeah, right. I started hitting the ground running. I was like, I'm going to work so hard, and I will accomplish my goals. In the junior season, I actually wound up making all Big Ten. So it paid off. It paid off. And yes, I still had my social life, but I started to understand a balance rather than 80% here, 10% here, and 10% here. It was more of a 30% social, 40% academic, and whatever. It balanced out a little bit more. So I struggled a lot. I got in trouble with just being out and being social, but it was something that I had to kind of like a come into Jesus moment and really understand and kind of hone in myself and really come to terms with what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to do because it is a little tough to balance at first. What I found, because all Division I programs, they have study hall to start, but what I found is after study hall was over, that's not usually enough time to get your work done. So at first I tried doing work in the dorms and things like that, which is essentially impossible. And so what I would do then every day was like a nice routine is I would go to practice, then go to dinner with my teammates, and then literally right after that would lock myself into the library in like the furthest, most remote corner, get everything done that I need to get done, and then after that I could be social until, like bedtime, because otherwise I felt just things were not getting done. But I feel very strongly, like, something we talk kind of jokingly about, like, oh, let's not mention too many brands unless you're sponsored. But I think, what a lot of people out there need to realize is obviously we're talking to, like, someone who is amazing at this game and somebody who has played at a professional level, played along, Monica Abbott and alongside some amazing players, did basically a world championship for the Chicago Bandits, which is amazing. And I think we need to talk about something that's a very important sort of women's issue, which is that, essentially if you're a male doing the same thing, there would be no need for you to have like all these other jobs, and things like that you would be able to make not only a living, but a very comfortable living, strictly playing professional. So, I mean, what has kind of been your experience in that realm? Like, why do you think that women are not getting compensated at a livable wage at the professional level?
Sure. I may have some different thoughts on this.
Totally loaded question, I know.
And I'll be transparent. I'd rather provide authenticity to your listeners than for me to try to sugarcoat things. So for me, if I look at it, since I've been in the business, in the corporate realm for a couple years now, and now I have a corporate mind, and what is it that Major League Baseball has that the MPF doesn't have? And to me, it's providing value. So we'll take a step back. The NBA and WNBA are partners. They're partners. They that's how the WNBA is funded, honestly, is through the NBA. The Major League Baseball and the MPF we're working on partnerships, but we're not to their level of partnership right now. So for me, a lot of times people are like, oh, why doesn't the MPF get sponsored by Nike? And why don't we get an ESPN deal? And why don't we get this? And why don't we get that? Okay, ask yourself this: are we providing value? So we need to take it into our hands. Are we providing value? Are we going out to community outreach? Are we doing the things necessary that would tell these companies, hey, you need to put me on TV. You need me on ESPN because we will be better. We will be better at ratings than bowling or National Spelling Bee, whatever it is. Yeah, drives me nuts. But at the same time, those things get viewings. The times that we have put games on TV, a lot of the times the front camera, so behind the pitcher and then onto home plate, a lot of times the front camera, the angle, there will be one person in the stands. To me, if I'm a corporate-minded person, if I'm a business, and I see that there's one person at the game, or presumably because it's only at the angle here, if I see that there's one person in the stands, how can I possibly sponsor a league that isn't going to put butts in the seats and see my advertisements on the wall or whatever it is, or see the brands that they're wearing? Oh, great, they're wearing Nike. I want to wear Nike because she's wearing Nike. There's not enough promotion, in my opinion. We aren't providing enough value to these larger companies that would tell them, you have to work with us. Hey, you've got to work with us. We provide so much value to you guys. I'm not sure how that starts. It's really tough when we have a team that drops out of the league every year. On average, for the last however many years since I've been playing and since I've been following the league, we've had one team drop out at least every year. And I can name a bunch off the top of my head that aren't in existence anymore.
Me too.
Which is a problem, Which is a problem.
Yeah.
It's like, how is a team folding every single year? It is a lot of money to put up front, but I think reaching out to help the community understand that we are providing a platform for female athletes to advance their careers to the next level also is the start. I know a lot of times when I do, I'll do clinics, camps. I'll even go out to tournaments sometimes. When I was playing for the Bandits, I'd go out to tournaments and hand out free tickets. I'd hand out, just brochures, just start to get involved with the community. And a lot of the times people would look at me and be like, who are you? And I'm like, oh yeah, I play for the Chicago Bandits, And they'd be like, They're like, what are you talking about? And this is in the Chicagoland area at a softball tournament. So I'm like, yes, the professional team that's down the street. That Chicago Bandits. They're like, professional team? I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the problem. Yes. We don't even have, we have a community that has a team and has had a team for since 2005, 12 years. And we don't know about.
I know. It's like mind blowing also because like the College World Series is attended like crazy and watched like crazy, and he's not translating to the professional realm. I felt like I have been blessed to know so many athletes that have played professional, and Danielle Henderson, who's a really close friend of mine, is an Olympic gold medalist, and I can go to a softball tournament with them and they're not mobbed, and it's like, how is that? How do you not know who these people are? Like, to me, even still, and they're my friends, I'm like still in awe of what they've done, but to me, like, I feel like, okay, how is this not translating? Because if it was the male equivalent stepping on, a little league field, they'd be mobbed. They wouldn't be able to walk 10 feet.
Right.
And to me, that's just like, will that ever catch up? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't.
It starts with education, honestly, because a lot of times in my lessons, I'll purposely say, who's your favorite softball player? Mm-hmm. Group of girls, who's your favorite softball player? And a lot of them are like, a what? and then I'm like, who is your favorite softball player? And then a lot of them will say Jenny Finch.
Yes,
and I'm like, okay, we just did a hitting lesson for literally an hour long, and you're not a pitcher. You're also not a 6-foot blonde woman. Like, you're not, you don't resemble any characteristic of Jenny Finch. No offense. You can love Jenny Finch. She's a great person. I definitely think she's good to admire, but just because her name is written on a bat does not mean that she's your favorite player. in my opinion, it starts with education at the younger levels. It also starts with cohesion within the realm of this sport specifically. So we have governing bodies such as USSSA, ASA/USA, USA now. We have PGF, NFA, used to be gold, now Triple Crown, this, that. I mean, it's like, okay, so we have 10 governing bodies and none of them get along.
Yep.
You need to cohesively, if you want people to buy in, there needs to be one platform. Not this person has this rules and this one has this rules, and oh, dad didn't like these rules, so he's making a new league. And for me, it's the USSSA and USA have never really been friends. And I think, once again, transparency right here. They've never been friends. USSSA is partners with MPF. USA softball is making it near impossible to be partners with MPF because they have the national team.
Oh, right, yeah.
National team schedule is during the MPF schedule. So who do you play for? Your national team or the MPF, where you're going to win a championship? If you're that talented and if you're that politically connected, who do you play for? Do I play and represent my team, which has an opportunity to go to the Olympics in a couple years? Do I represent this team, or do I represent the Chicago Bandits, where we are competing for a world championship and this is the most competitive softball that you're going to play in the whole world? Maybe except for in Japan. I don't know.
Yeah, Japan, it's like a whole different thing. Right?
But nonetheless, it needs to start with stopping the creation of new governing bodies actually cohesively coming together, because it's one sport that we're talking about. There's no, in basketball, for example, there's not AAU and 50 other organizations. It's just AAU basketball.
Yeah, that's smart. I have to tell you, you're the first person who's brought that up, and this is a kind of a major issue for me, because I would love to see people be able to aspire to, I'd love to see women to be able to aspire to play professionally, and because people kind of joke with me, they're like, oh, I'm due in April. They're like, oh, if you have a daughter, you're going to turn her into a pitcher, right? I'll be like, I'll be handing that girl a tennis racket at 2. That's how, golf clubs, tennis rackets, things like that, because, that is more realistic. Not that I wouldn't allow her to play softball, I wouldn't coach her how to pitch, but, realistically, your aspirations from a softball standpoint right now can only go so far.
True.
So it's just a matter of being logical, I think, sometimes. But what I do want to mention before we have to go, because this has been amazing and very, we love these kind of down-to-earth talks where, we're not sugarcoating anything here. This is, really what happens in the softball world. But Alex gives lessons of all kinds, and she is developing her online business. Obviously, she's very, very smart. She's an entrepreneur. She's got a lot of great things to say. She was a right-handed hitter, and then she likes to say that she switched to the dark side of slapping. So she can teach anything. She said the only thing she doesn't teach is pitching, which, ladies, right here, even if you live in Illinois, I still do online stuff. So, I would like you to invite her to go. I would like to invite you guys to go to bookereliteathletics.com. That's bookereliteathletics.com, and find out more about her, because she's also, apart from all the stuff that she does physically, she's really about well-rounding players and personal development. And that is something, to me, I feel like you just can't be good at anything without that level of commitment to your personal development. So, Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And anything else you want to mention, anywhere where we want to be followed on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook?
Yeah. Sure. So all my platforms, I have the same handle. It's abooker15. So A for Alex, Booker15. No underscores, no dashes, no dollar signs or anything like that thrown in there. But yeah, follow me on social media, connect with me. The more that you connect with me, the more I can understand how to answer your troubles, how to really relate to you, relate to what's going on. So I do have a blog that's out right now. It is in regard to recruiting of the prospective student athletes out there. So not just for softball, but it's for prospective student athletes in general. Maybe not football, maybe not men's basketball, but nonetheless, I encourage you to read my blogs. I'm trying to get onto YouTube. It's taken a little bit. I actually have to like dress myself up and stuff for that and be a video presenter. So I'm working on that. The editing takes a little bit, so working on that right now. But nonetheless, go to my blog, connect with me. I am available for camps, clinics, and happy to travel too. Right now, I'm in a point in my life where I'm just saying yes a lot, and I'm trying to be more positive and open to new ideas. So reach out to me. I'd be happy to entertain ideas of of whatever you throw at me. So yeah, thank you
Yay,
so much.
awesome. And stay on for a minute afterwards so we can wrap everything up. But ladies, make sure, again, one more time, BookerEliteAthletics.com. You're reaching out on social media. These are the people you want to learn from. And we'll be back soon. Bye, guys.